The biggest thing to determine whether it's a mental health issue is to see the changes, to look at the changes in behavior. If you're anxious, if you're depressed, you start feeling down, you start isolating. In order to help them, we have to see their humanity first and put the behaviors aside.
I think our culture really is in love with the destination, not the process.
Yep.
So the thought of, let me get in therapy to fix this so I can stop, versus like, this is something to process life through and to continually go back to.
I'm in therapy, twice a month. The teacher has to be educated as well.
Fact. Big shout out to our sponsors, man. Chick-fil-A, Broad Creek Crossing in Norfolk, Virginia, right off Military Highway. Go check my folk out. You already know what the chicken is.
Hey, what's going on, people? How y'all doing? Look, I want to welcome you to the JB podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out, joining us today.
Why are you here?
I got a couple of guests. Oh, he's about to leave. Welcome to the Legend Podcast. My name is JB Harrison.
JB podcast got a ring to it.
It does. I like that.
We'll work on that.
I like that.
But I want to say welcome. And on my right, we got my illustrious,
Never gotten that.
illustrious guest.
It was a pause. What was the pause about? Okay.
Legend.
That decide what I want.
All right.
Which is Nigel backwards. You want to explain that, or we good? Well, they know you, so we good.
Yeah, I hope they do.
And then across from me, we have Miss Kimtrese Slaughter, who is an author, she's the owner of Hummingbird Women's
Counseling. Don't be like that.
I knew it was Hummingbird.
Okay, Hummingbird. Just say Hummingbird. Yeah.
Hummingbird. She's an author. She's got books out, and she also is a former rapper as well. So,
Bars.
I'm going to kick this thing. I've got a couple questions. My first question is, we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about therapy and things like that. How do you know if it's a mental health issue, or if it's just maybe a way a person is wired, or that's their character? But how do you know, like how do you know when someone needs to be seen for a mental health issue?
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a difficult question, because a person can be wired in a way and it's a mental health issue. So like a narcissist, they're wired in a certain way, but it's still a mental health issue.
Interesting.
Right? A lot of times you'll see it in the behaviors, but the major thing is you'll see it in relationships, and you feel mental health in your body first. It always happens in the body phase. So if you're anxious, if you're depressed, you start feeling down. You start feeling like you look at your behavior, you start isolating. The biggest thing to determine whether it's a mental health issue is to see the changes, to look at the changes in behavior. So if you have a person that was once gregarious and happy and involved, and now they're not coming to church as much, and you're inviting them out and they're like, no, I'm good. That's how you know that you need to check on that person, because something is right. Something is not right. It's the major thing is behavior change. You always have to look at the behavior. And that's important, especially with kids, because their behavior looks different. They may start acting out. Smaller kids may say, my stomach hurts, or I got a headache. They're always sick. They don't feel good. Where you have teenagers that may start acting out, wanting to do what they want to do. You can't tell them nothing. Or they may just not feel good. They may not want to hang out with their friends as much. They may not want the things that used to make them happy no longer makes them happy. Always look at the behavior. That is the telltale sign that something is off.
Well, how do you know with that in mind when it's just, we need to talk through some things, counseling, coaching wise, or this is clinical and you need medication?
I think you have to start with the counseling, coaching. You have to start with hey babe, I noticed, blah, 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 blah. When they start saying, I don't know, I don't know, I just don't feel right, that's clinical. When they can tell you, well, I was hanging out with my best friend. She said something smart to me, and it just kind of put me in the mood. That's something you can work out at home.
Gotcha.
But when they can't verbalize it and they don't have the vocabulary for it, then you might want to take them to therapy. Because one thing therapists will do is give them the vocabulary.
Got you. That helps out with the next question I had too, because thinking about justice, right? And to preface this, like I was making a point recently, like everybody wants to act like, we're in America, so everything's all just and equal, which whatever. But like, if you get in trouble and you can afford a better lawyer, you got a greater chance of getting off.
Absolutely.
Therefore, if you can't afford a greater lawyer, you got a greater chance of not getting justice, and therefore that's not fair, right? Same thing here. Like, what does the accessibility look like for people from insurance to cost to how easy is it to get mental health resources if you're not in a good financial or insurance situation? And where's the justice and how things are laid out?
It's not that easy. I mean, it's easy to get mental health services, but when we're talking about good, quality mental health services, not easy at all. Like you have some therapists that don't take Medicaid, right? Who's on Medicaid,
right?
Yeah,
right? So they have all these trainings. A lot of the trainings that I have, a lot of the EMDR, those trainings are extremely expensive. You know, EMDR, I mean, I think I paid but $11,000 for that training. You know, and that's just one training.
That's half of the bag you was talking about earlier.
That's one training, right? And then you talk about the brain spotting, you talk about the somatic therapy, and these are the things that takes the trauma out of the body. You know, you're going to pay a whole lot of money. Well, the people who pay a whole lot of money for those therapies, those trainings, they want to recoup their money.
Yeah,
so
they need to, as a business owner.
Yeah. So they want to work with people who get paid out of pocket or who have really good insurance. Nobody's going to really work with Medicaid like that because now I'm not really getting my money's worth.
Yeah, you know, it's when you're going to service. This is making me think about, like, we got home warranty, right? Because I just can't pay out of pocket for a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Make a working man wage, right? So, like, if something goes down with this washing machine, like, I got a home warranty. This $80 deductible is a lot better than a $1,000 machine.
Yeah.
But the folks that come, you know what I'm saying? They're coming because they're getting paid so little to come. Like I'm saying, we had guys come, they were starting their business and they had to work with warranty companies because that was the only way for them to get work.
Exactly.
But they're getting paid a fraction of what it is. So
they get a fraction of the service.
Right. If they were Integris, they would still do the job.
Yes.
But they're hurting as a business owner. And their goal is to get clients under me so I can not have to work with home warranty companies so I can charge what but now I can't hire you again. You know, and I like working with
right.
So it starts to balance out. And it's the same thing, here. And the funny thing is too, when people are in service-based jobs, whether it be mental health services or churches or whatever, it's both and to me about the business side of things and the service you're doing. Because you got to keep the doors open and people want to spend their whole day there. They got to get paid, but you got to give to the community and be giving. And people that don't have can sometimes come and say, well, look, you're doing this. Why I can't afford it? Shouldn't you just help out and do this?
Yeah, that a lot.
Right? And then over here, it's like, I still got to buy groceries when I leave the office. And if I don't get this, I can't. And it's just this weird way our system is set up to where you got to be so creative to find the balance of taking care of the business, serving the people, and having justice. Because it's super difficult to figure that thing out the way things are set up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so. It's very difficult. And I think, so for my practice, we do take Medicaid. And I train my therapists that everybody is the same.
Right.
You know, because we are in a service, field. And the people that I hire very slowly because you have to fit. You have to fit my idea of what helping people
gotta fit the culture
looks like, and so when I hire people, I can teach you how to write clinical documentation. I can't teach you how to be compassionate. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't teach you how to be integrous.
Man.
I can't teach you how to treat the person with Medicaid the same as the person with Anthem, federal. I can't teach you that. So when I'm interviewing, I could care less what's on your resume. I want to know what's in your heart.
Yes,
because
Lord.
that's what's going to really help people.
Yeah.
That's what we're about. We're really about helping people. God will take care of the rest. And so that's just how we operate. Now I know everybody don't operate like that, but in the 7 years that we've been open, we've grown.
There's a reason you're flourishing.
Every single year.
There's a reason you're flourishing. You know what I mean? And I think I'm in a lot of church spaces. So like that to me, the way I hear that is I be talking to people like, look, just because somebody's in a role at a church, it doesn't mean they're a pastor. Right?
No, or a leader.
Right. Yeah,
they're just in a role.
A lot of times we'll slap pastor on it because you do this and it happens to be at a church. Like somebody may be an executive leader, that don't mean they're an executive pastor.
Yeah.
If you can't shepherd people and nobody really wants to deal with you and you don't have a heart for people, bro, go do your little logistic functions over here. I'm sorry, not little. Go do your go do your executive stuff and keep things on task, but don't be out here like pastoring people when you ain't got a heart for it. Yeah. And in fact, maybe the church should do what you did and hired slowly. Like
we're looking for shepherds first.
We need a shepherd first.
I can teach you how to do everything else.
We can teach you that.
But I need you to be a shepherd first.
Right.
If you cannot come to the door as a shepherd, then I don't care what else you have on your resume. I don't care what church you've been at. You could have been at T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen. It doesn't matter.
That's a big fact.
If you are not a shepherd first, you can't work here.
That's a big fact. And it's got to fit the culture.
It has to fit the culture.
There's got to be, in church, there got to be kingdom business. So right here, it's like, I like how you're like, I'm gonna hire you slowly because you can do the business side, but do you fit the kingdom culture I have here? I like that.
Exactly.
What are some of the we've talked about trauma, and what are some of the success stories that you know of personally outside of Hummingbird growing? Y'all gotta do therapy, like y'all killing it. Outside of that, just some of the people, or some of the ladies. What are some of the success stories that
Oh gosh. Okay, I might cry. Because I love talking about the success stories, because when you have someone come to you and say, if you can't help me, my life is like, I'm going to kill myself. I know that, like, that's where I am in my life. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. So the first thing I have to do is I have to help them to realize, because as a therapist, you're not here and they're here, right? Like, they know themselves way more than you know them, And so I have to help them to understand that they are in control. First of all, you're in control. And so I would say this is one woman that I work with, and that's how she came in. She was just like, she had multiple suicide attempts, from slitting her wrist twice, to attempting to drown us, all types, taking pills. I would say about 4 by the time she got to me, about 4 or 5 suicide attempts. And I think her perspective of therapy was going to be like, I was going to say, okay, I'm going to refer you to a psychiatrist. You're going to take this medication. The first 4 sessions, we literally sat on the floor surrounded by pillows, because I needed her to feel loved. I needed her to feel close. So we literally sat on the floor surrounded by pillows. And I said, tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. Because we look at people and we say, why are you acting like that? But we never say, what happened to you? And so we talked for 4 or 5 sessions. Then we start doing some exposure therapy where she had to do certain things like write letters and just kind of understand that your family does not have what you need, what you think you need from them. They don't have it. And I think I worked with her for about maybe 6 months, maybe 6 or 7 months. And she terminated in about 7 months, and she's doing extremely well. She went on, she got married. She's like a lawyer for Morgan Stanley.
Wow.
I mean, and she sends me gifts every year.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, she's just like, my life is so different from when I came in. Just even the demeanor, her skin was really dry. She sit like this, very, very closed in, and she's just open, she just looks so good, so healthy. And I have multiple stories like that where women will come in one way and leave another way, and then go out and I feel like God wants me to do something in this. I've had women leave a Hummingbird and go to school to become a therapist,
That makes me happy.
And, go to school to become a therapist, says, I want to do that type of work because that's life-saving work. If not for you or what you have done, I would have never been in the position that I'm in.
And I guess if you really think about it, outside of all of those success stories and all the ones that you know of and that you've named, you got to look at your own and look at yours.
Yes.
Because for you, what you've been through and where you are and what you're doing, that's a success. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And so even with that, how did you go from did you do counseling? And if you did, what drove you, what pushed you there? And then how did you go from there to now, shoot, because you've done a lot.
Right.
You've done a lot, like
right.
your background. How did you go from, a veteran to even this? And then prior to that, even, like I said, all of the trauma stuff, how did you get there?
Well, I'm still in therapy today. Yes, I'm still in therapy today.
I love that.
Yeah, because the teacher has to be educated as well.
Fact.
And so I'm in therapy, twice a month.
Big respect. Big respect.
There's not too much of, if a client, there's not too many clients that can sit in front of me and say, I've been through this, and I can't say I've been through that. Most of the time I can be like, yeah, I've been through that too. And even though it's not about me, my trauma allows me to be more empathetic to their story. When they're coming in there, they're embarrassed that they've been through certain things. And I'm like, nah, me too, sis. I've been there too. And so it was, when I was a kid, I told you I used to have these panic attacks and scratching my face and things like that. And so I think I was like 10 or 11. And my foster mother took me to therapy for the first time. I never knew what therapy was, never heard of it. And so when we got to the office, she kept saying we were going to the doctor. And I was like, okay, this don't look like no doctor's office. It's nice and it smells good in here. And so the lady at the desk, because I was always inquisitive, asked a lot of questions. So when my foster mother went to the bathroom, I went to the desk and I was like, what type of doctor is this? And she was like, oh, it's a therapist, psychologist. And she was like, I was like, well, what does that mean? And she was like, well, you tell her your stuff and she helps you. She helps you navigate yourself. And I was so excited because I was like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. But when I went in the office, like she was judgy from the door.
Right.
Like,
Oh, the lady?
Yeah, she was, oh my gosh. She was like, well, your mother's on crack and your father's not around. This is what she said. Your mother's not crack, your father's not around. And she never really looked at me. She was like looking down like that. And she was like, and then you live in this terrible neighborhood. I mean, of course you're going to be, like she literally said that. I was like flabbergasted. But I was such a strong kid because I remember feeling like I wanted to cry because my expectations, again, I was disappointed because my expectations based on what the lady at the front told me. And so I was like, okay. So I just sat there. She said what she said. And I just walked out. I was in there probably 5 minutes and I walked out. And then my foster mother was like, what are you doing? And I said nothing. Like I went mute for like the whole day. And then I went back to my foster mother's house. I got in the back because that was my safe place to tub. Because I used to read about how like if a tornado comes, you get in the tub. So anytime a emotional tornado came for me, I would get in the tub and I would close the curtain and lock the door. So I was in the tub and I remember just crying because I didn't want anybody to see me cry because crying was weak. So I remember just like bawling in the tub and I was like, this is my last time I'm going to let anybody make me cry. And I said, I'm going to do what she did. Because I remembered that feeling of excitement of what she was supposed to do. And I was like, I'm going to do what she was supposed to do when I grow up. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it better.
I'm going to do it. And I was like 11 years old. I always knew that I was going to do it. So I would like read different books about, how to help people. And because I read so much, I was a little bit more knowledgeable than the kids in my neighborhood. So they used to call me the Oracle. So I didn't even know what that meant, to be honest. I didn't even know what that meant. So what they would do is like, I would be, because my mother thought I was retarded.
I'm going to call you Oracle from now on. I was so glad to know that. Thank you, neighborhood
I never knew what that meant as a kid. So what I would do is I would go outside because my mother would force me to go outside. So I would go outside, I would sit under the tree with my books and I would read. So when the kids had like a neighborhood issue, they were like, let's ask the Oracle. And I used to be in my book and I used to be like reading my book.
Chapter 8, verse.
Reading my book. And they'd be like, Oracle. And I'd be like,
Paragraph 3.
How can I help y'all? Like, what y'all need now? Which knowledge is the best? Cherry or grape? And I would be like.
She'd be like, there is no spell. And
and I will only pick the one that I like.
Matrix reference.
Does it matter? What do you like? That's all that matters. Never give anyone the opportunity to have an opinion on the things that you like.
Just see this crowd of 11-year-olds like, wow.
Well, I like cherry and I'm sticking with cherry.
Right. 11-year-olds come after me with her. They're wearing togas and sandals.
Exactly.
Hey.
So I've been doing my work since that day. Like I feel like I've just been doing my own work since that day and doing trauma therapy. I had a lot of issues with therapy because I found that a lot of times when I went to therapy, I would wind up therapizing them. And I'm like, you the therapist, you're supposed to be helping me. You asking me questions.
Right.
But I have a really good therapist now.
That's good.
And there's a lot of people have had bad experiences with therapists.
Yes. Because because you pass the test don't mean you know how to help people. Right. You just pass the test.
Yes.
So it
might not
you
be able to deal with
do.
people.
I have a lot of people that comes and they be like, well, you're my third therapist. And I hope this works out. And then the first thing I have to do is say, okay, tell me about your experience with your past therapist. Because I don't want to do something that they've done. I don't want to trigger anything. So tell me about what you experienced with your last therapist. I promise you, it's not going to be the same thing. And so I've had very good outcomes where people who have come in, they be like, girl, I thought you was going to be this. Oh my gosh, you this, you that. So.
And kudos to them for expecting that and still coming. You know what I'm saying?
When you were talking about the lady, the fact that she attempted suicide, but she was coming to you.
Yep.
And you said she was there for at least 4, 5, 6 sessions.
Yep.
That means she kept coming back.
She kept coming back. And I asked her, I said, how did you get here? And she's like, well, my doctor told me that I need to come to you, that you can help me for sure. And then she made me come. She threatened me to come. And so, and I said, but you kept coming back on your own. So one of the things you have to do as a therapist, you have to help them to see their wins. Because when we think of wins, we think that it has to always be big. The fact that you got up and got dressed and drove to this office is a win.
Big facts. Big facts.
Yeah.
I mean, that James Clear Atomic Habits, baby.
Okay,
Like
that's my book now. Come on. Love that book.
While we talking about stories, please tell us about this incredible book you have. Because I'm a reader too. I would love to know about it.
Even though, wait a minute.
What?
Those are for our wives.
You can still read it.
I didn't promise that I'm not going to promote it.
I think men still need to read it.
Hey, see?
Okay.
I can read it.
Because
Don't try
put
to
some respect on their
Now, she
names.
specifically came in and said, hey, these are for your
I did.
wives.
But when, when they finish reading it, then y'all can
They
read
can pass it on.
You
We
can
can't-
pass it on.
I can't read it before I give
It's
it
a
to
family affair.
Gotcha.
I ain't gonna tell her it exists. I'm gonna read it first and I'm gonna give it to her. She ain't gonna see this episode for like months.
Page is all bent up now.
Just the highlighters.
Why does Mark? So it's called Women Like Us, Learning from the Struggles, Strengths, and Superpowers of the Lesser Known Women in the Bible. And I chose the lesser known women in the Bible because there are so many women in the world who feel like they're lesser. Like they may be housewives and they feel like, oh, I'm not working or I'm not adding anything. Like your story matters no matter what it is. And we come from a line of women. We come from a line of women who had way more hardships than we've had. And their stories have made big differences in
It's
the Bible.
incredible for you to say that, actually.
Yeah.
With everything you've been through.
I try.
I mean,
I try. And so it's the book and it's the workbook. And we also have the journal. Journal allows us to process our emotions. Journaling is a form of mindfulness. And so it's always good. We always see in the Bible how Jesus always left and went by himself. He needed to meditate and be by himself. And so this is what the journal does. It helps you to go away from the books and just identify what you've learned and what spoke to you.
And I just want to say this too, because we're not really like a guest-based podcast, right? Like we brought on my man Adam and Kimtrese, and that's it for the season. And we just invited people we really cared about. So Kimtrese and like, I got a book, bring me on. I know Kimtrese, so I was like, please come on, because you got something that I want my listeners to get. So like, this is a full endorsement of anything she puts out or anything that she's behind. Like, please get this book. It's gonna be helpful for you. And just follow it, man. Go check out Hummingbird, do whatever. Like, she didn't pay me to get on the podcast. Right. I'm paying her to be. I'm like, yo, please pull up. Here's some money. Like, I wanted y'all to really hear what she had to say, and I just wanted to. Yeah, man, no doubt. And you was about to get into something about the.
How I came up with the women.
Yeah.
I sent it out to my friends, and I said, check off the women that you've heard of, that you know, and just tell me a little blurb on what you know about them.
Gotcha.
So it was like 12 women, and they were like, oh, I ain't at least. I'm
Married?
sorry. I don't know. Rizpah, like. Is a Rizpah in the Bible?
Yeah.
Yes, a Rizpah in the Bible. Like Dorcas and Axa and all of these powerful women, and their stories are not highlighted. Like their stories are in stories, like in big stories. Like Rizpah's story is in David's story, and so it's like you got to pull them out. But their stories are like a lot of things that happen in the Bible, especially with David, with the children of Israel, couldn't have happened without Rizpah. When there was a famine, the famine wasn't lifted until she got what she wanted. And, and the Bible she never says a word, like she doesn't have a script, but it was the talking about her doings that allowed the children of Israel to come out of a 3-year famine because of a woman and the way that she rebelled against men and how they treated her.
Oh, wait, hold on now. Yeah,
I take back what I take back what I said about this endorsement now.
It was the culture.
We having a rebellion.
But here's the thing. Like, you never hear any of these women disrespect a man or downplay a man or talk negative about a man.
Okay. Never mind. My wife might not get that. Hold on. We might have to. Nah.
No, it really just allows women because God made us all as individuals. Right. When we get married, then yes, we become one, but it's not like, I become JB or JB become me. It's how do we create a oneness together? How do we create a system, our own system outside of the systems that we come from, because we all come from systems, right? And I think that's one thing I teach my clients is we all come from systems where we create our own families.
Yeah.
And, for me, my family is my husband and my children. Everybody else is relatives. And so everybody, They're from the system that I come from, and I love them, but they're from the system that I come from, and I can't bring in my stuff from my system into this new system that I'm trying to create with my husband and kids.
I love it. I had 2 questions here. I think we actually hit one last episode. Please go back and listen to the other episode if this is your first time seeing this. Go back to that's the prequel to this one. We talked about briefly some of the church's failings in dealing with mental health. Where have you seen successes where the church has embraced a good theology about everything, about addressing mental health? Where have you seen some success stories with some churches who have embraced as well?
I've seen a lot of success stories. Talking to a lot of pastors. Some pastors will be like, "Yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this." They never do it. We're going to do this, and so when the pastor says to me, "I'm going to" or "I'm planning to," I always say nobody has ever become successful or famous for something that they were going to do. Right. So what have you done is my question. What have you done? And some pastors will say something like, well, trust me, Kimtrese, we're going to do this. And, no shade, but in God I trust. Everybody else got to bring receipts. Sorry.
I told you, man. I already did not.
Yeah, I heard the ad lib of that.
No.
So if you ain't coming with receipts, if you don't come to me with a plan, I don't trust that. But there has been many pastors, even in this area, and just traveling and things. I do a lot of traveling and speaking, where they're like, okay, can you consult on this? Like, I don't understand this. Like, I'm a pastor. Mm-hmm. I don't understand this. Can you come in and train my staff?
That's good.
To what to look for, what are the steps that we need to do? What program do we have? Like, we see these things going on with a church member. How do we handle that? Mm. Do we just call them in and say, "Hey, are you okay?" Some pastors. I had a pastor in Richmond. He actually pays out of the church fund for his people to come to therapy.
I love it.
And of course we give him a break.
Sure.
But because we're here to help at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
And so. He'll be like, okay, I got these 3 women. They need to come to therapy. We're going to pay out of pocket for them. Teaching pastors that they have a limit. Yeah. We all do. We're human. We have a limit. There are even times where I'm working with a client and they're dealing with some type of major psychosis. I have a limit. Then it's my duty to say, okay, we've done the work that we can do. It's time for me to refer you to a specialist. Mm-hmm. Like, how you go to a doctor for a checkup and they be like, okay, you need a specialist. Right. It's the same thing. And so I've seen a lot of pastors in this area, especially, that are saying, look, we need help. Yeah. We don't know what we're doing.
There's a limit of what we can do or what we have.
We don't know what we're doing. I had this pastor out of DC, a huge church. He was like, yeah, I want you to change. I want you to train. We got questions. I'm like, okay, we're just going to have a question session. And when I tell you, it was probably about 90 staff on that Zoom call. Mm-hmm. And they would we was on there for like 4 hours. They were just asking questions. Well, what does this mean? Mm-hmm. And what does this mean? Well, I see this. And what does this mean? And it was just a question answer session. And they were like, yeah, we need you to come down. We need you to. So pastors are getting on board. And then you still have some pastors who are like, all the answers are in the Bible. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I would say that a lot of pastors are.
And people feel like it's because I'm heavy Bible, right? All of us are. But like, people feel like it's disrespecting the word of God to say that this particular discipline is not covered in here, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, nah, because you don't feel that way when you break your leg. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's nothing in here about here's how to fix a broken leg.
Exactly.
That's okay, right?
And the thing is, if you look in the Bible, there is more. Jethro said to Moses, you can't do this by yourself. You need counselors.
Right.
Right? David was Saul's music therapist. Yeah. When Saul was depressed and down, David would come and play the harp for him. Right. That's music therapy. Yeah. It's in there. It's in there.
It's in there. It's just
definitely in there.
But it's just like how to get here and the steps to be this person may not necessarily be. So therefore, let's go to somebody who's doing the work.
Exactly.
Because the scripture backs up this work is important.
It up. Even with medication, when Paul told Timothy,
drink a little wine for your stomach.
What is stomach? Because the water ain't working.
Working, yeah.
All right, Timothy, sip.
Take a shot. Somebody can come at me for taking a shot. But I believe the word is sufficient for everything.
Everything. It covers everything. The answers to all is in there.
And you're going to find wisdom in here. We have wisdom literature.
Absolutely.
And wisdom is going to dictate, hey, you need a specialist in this area. Go find that specialist. There's nothing unbiblical about that. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, the Bible would back it up more than it would not.
Absolutely.
So, I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we actually covered that, man. I was going to ask you, well, let's do it just in case. You might have something else come to mind. And we'll end here. What is the single biggest factor for the success of your counseling practice? What have you seen that's given you such good reach, such good success in helping people, and the reason you're growing so crazy? What is the factor? Because you said you hired, what, like 30, where you at now? How many therapists?
Oh, we probably at 16.
16, okay.
Yeah.
That's
a lot.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So like, what is the factor that you would attribute to why things are working so well in your counseling practice?
I can answer that for you, but I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna see if you're gonna say what I think.
Okay,
I'm
no,
gonna
go
say.
ahead.
No, you go
ahead.
ahead. No, you got it. Go.
So I would say a couple of things. I would say authenticity, right? Like the reason, why are you doing this? And I think people are very impulsive when they start businesses. They say, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money in this business. I never thought about money when I started my business. I only thought about the need. So I saw that there was a need for good quality therapy for women, and it's a need from men as well. So I think when you want to start a successful business, all you got to do is look at the needs. What are the needs out in your community, and how can you
Meet the need,
but meet the need authentically, not pretending that you're somebody that you're not. Like if my clients ask me like, Miss Lauder, how do you deal with all this? Oh, I go to therapy, sis. That's how I deal with it. Like, I'm not gonna be like, no, this is about you. Like, no, if they ask me a question, I'm gonna be honest. Like, yeah, I go to therapy. I am human just like you. I have flaws just like you, women like us, right? We're all just alike in the sense of the things that we need. We need connection. We need connection like we need to breathe, like we need to eat, like we need to sleep. Like all of those things are extremely important. And so if I can provide that, what I teach my therapists is, we don't have to like our clients, because there's some people that come in, they just real nasty. We don't have to like them. We have to help them.
Yeah,
that's it. We have to help them, and in order to help them, we have to see their humanity first and put the behaviors aside.
I love it.
And it's very difficult for some people to do. Like, oh, you're behaving like this, or you're doing this, or you're doing. And it's like, no, I don't even care about the behaviors right now. I care about your soul.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. Let me speak to your soul. Let me speak to the little girl. I'm always speaking to the little girl. Let me speak to the little girl in you, because she's angry, right? The little girl is confused, and she's trying to figure out, why did I have to endure such things? The teenager is at rage. She wants to fight. She wants to get back, but while the adult just wants peace. And they're all just fighting and bumping heads. And so for me, it's authenticity.
So you found a need and met it. You found a need and authentically met it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was going to say that. Not like her.
Yeah. What was you going to say?
She's probably one of the realest females I know.
Big facts.
Like for real, and always has been. And it's a top-down mentality. So, in business, if, she's HR.
Yeah. That's the culture you bring.
So, she's making sure that the way she handles it, the people that she's working with handles it as well. And, she's honest. She going to be 125% with you all the time.
I love it.
I got one quick question. We got time. Let's go fast.
Knock it out.
How does the therapist choose a therapist?
That's a good question.
Based on what we need, what we think we need. So for me, because I've done so much trauma work, I don't really need to do a lot of trauma work. I need ongoing processing, because I still get triggered. If I'm walking down the street and I hear a loud noise, that triggers me. It makes me anxious. Or it's little things. And that's the thing, like, your work never ends, because, so for instance, I'll give y'all a quick story. So when the girls were home and Sean is cook, right? So he cooks in the house. So if he would cook something and the girls wanted seconds, but there was no more, that would trigger me, because that would take me back to when I didn't have food as a kid. Right. Wow. And so now my mind is saying, oh my gosh, your kids don't have enough food. Now, I ain't even think about the house that I live in, the neighborhood I live in.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah. Y'all balling out here. That neighborhood nice.
Yeah. I ain't thinking about none of that.
Matter of fact, your kids in college, I got a spare room. I might slide up in that
Sean about to throw you in the pool. Do we need to figure this out here?
Right, exactly. But when you're triggered, what's happening is your body is going back to a place and the mind is still here. So I'm feeling it in my body, like, oh my gosh, my kids don't have enough to eat. I need to go to the store, and I got a whole attitude. I got a whole attitude with Sean because you need to cook more. Why didn't you cook more, right? So that is a trigger for me, and I can't pretend that those triggers don't exist. So self-awareness is key, And so what I have to do now is I'm in therapy. When I'm triggered, like, girl, let me tell you. So this thing triggered me the other day, and I'm just in the processing stage. But I'll never not be in therapy. I'll never not be in therapy because the thing is, even though the sensations of trauma will dissipate, those triggers are going to be there. They just aren't going to have as much impact when they come.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to hear loud noise and drop to the ground because I think I'm at war. But I do have those sensations in my body, like, oh my gosh, like. And now my brain is like, oh, no, that's not that. That's not that. Because our brain forecasts.
That's so good.
Right? So it's something, like you said earlier, like if you touch fire, your brain is now going to forecast, like, hold on, if you touch that again, it's going to hurt, right? Remember I said the brain is not here to make you happy, it's here to protect you. So it's all about protection. And so the brain is going to always look at different ways to protect you, even if it's protecting you from yourself. So when I'm looking for a therapist, I just need somebody to help me to process, like, oh, this happened. And girl, tell me, from your perspective, what do you think that was? And here's how I handle it. How do you think, do you think I could have done something differently? So I have urges to isolate too. Like when I get really, my nervous system, because my nervous system is like this. Like the normal nervous system is like this. Right? So we have the autonomic nervous system, which we all have, but then you have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Right now, we're all in the parasympathetic, meaning we're calm, everything's cool, everything's safe. But if a bear comes through that wall,
all that changes.
All that changes. We going to sympathetic.
Right.
We wild. We're running.
Step one.
Right.
Push JB in the way. Second.
Flip over the tape. Right. So we're all going into parasympathetic because now because we all have anxiety. Everybody has anxiety. The purpose of anxiety is to keep us safe. Is to, a bear coming, get up, run. Right. That's that fight, freeze, right? And you can't determine which one you go into when it happens. For some people think they can, but you can't, right? And so I know that I don't necessarily go into fight, fight, or freeze, but I have my moments where I feel overstimulated in my body. And so I'll never not be in therapy.
I love that. And yeah, because I think our culture really is in love with the destination, not the process.
Yep.
So the thought of, let me get in therapy to fix this so I can stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like, this is something to process life through and to continually go back to. I love the fact that you as a therapist said, I'm going to therapy for life, to process
big,
life.
Yeah.
People need to hear that. You know what I mean? Send us out, man, one time if this is somebody's only chance to see you. They may be in faith, they may not, they may be a man, they may be a woman. What would you tell them about, I think you really need to consider this for yourself the same way you do?
Yeah. Well, I think everybody should go to therapy. I don't think therapy, you have to go to therapy if it's something major, right? Like if you have like anxiety, depression, of course you should go with those things. But if you have uncertainty, right? If you feel like there's something that you just need help with figuring out, then go to therapy. Like you have to realize that, we cannot ask of the world to do things for us that we are not willing to do for ourselves. It all starts with us. And so if you think you need help, even if you don't think you need help, maybe just go get an assessment just to do a self-checking. Like every year we do a physical health checkup. Sometimes we need a mental health checkup.
Facts.
We need a mental health oil change, tire rotation, Go get the help that you need. You're worth it because other people are dependent on you. If you don't deal with your storm, it's going to rain on everybody around you. So go get the help that you need in order to prevent everybody else from getting wet. All right?
She still got
The Oracle.
Oracle. I was like, she got 4 bars, right?
I told you, man.
Kept going in messages. That's what's up, man. JB, take us home, brother.
Look, once again, I want to say appreciate you guys for tuning into the JB podcast. My bad. Tuning into the Legend podcast. I want to appreciate you guys. Just say thank you. Hopefully something was said that will impact your life, but impact it for the better. And that's what we're here for, trying to change the culture. And so I want to appreciate my guest today, Nigel. I'm sorry, Legend backwards.
Glad to be here.
Flip.
Flip.
Lord flip his life around.
Yes, that's it.
Get it right.
Kimtrese Slaughter.
Thank you
from
for having
Hummingbird.
me.
And y'all know me, man. And hey, Tune in next time to my show.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Hey man, thank you so much for watching this episode. Do me a favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go to the show notes, do all the things, and let us know what you're feeling, because we'd love to hear from you. Appreciate you.